Aren't you tired of being bullied? I know I can't stand being bullied, but let's talk about bullying here on the I'm Free Project. All right, y'all, this is James from the I'm Free Project, and I want to talk about something that's going on this month. This month is Bullying Prevention Month, and it's all across the nation and this and that. I noticed that when I went to a school the other day that they had all these posters about bullying and so forth, and I was like, well, there's a lot of advertisement with regards to bullying, but now I know why, because it's National Bullying Prevention Month. So when you think about bullying, you think about, you got the bad kids that's going around just picking on people for no reason and just talking about people and pushing people and hitting people and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff just for the sake of being bad. And we all have seen those kinds of kids in school, be it elementary school, middle school, high school, and then even sometimes in real life. You just got some people that just like being bullies. But, here's the thing that gets me about this bullying, and I'm going to keep this one short because this bullying stuff is really a tactic of the enemy, because you have to pay attention to how and why they're doing it. Now, with that in mind, please note that bullying did not come around, or the prevention or the control or people trying to handle it on a national level or on a local, state, and governmental level until gay and LGBT kids, Q kids started getting involved and having issues with bullies and bullying and so forth. So no one was caring until then. No one was caring about it, didn't have their hands in it, didn't have a heart towards it, didn't have a mind for it or anything until the LGBTQ kids started maybe committing suicide. And I think it's horrible that anything like that would happen to kids. I mean, I was bullied myself when I was in grade school. I remember the kid's name. I can remember the incident right offhand as to what happened. And to this day, it hasn't left my mind, but I totally get it. And I think it's wrong for anybody to bully anybody. I mean, it's bad and it's horrible. But let me just say this, and let's be clear about it. No one cared until the LGBTQ kids started having issues with regards to bullying. And then there may have been a suicide here and there and so forth. But no one cared until then. It's almost like drugs. People don't care until it enters their neighborhood. People don't care until they have a personal involvement in it about an issue. So now, let me just give you my background and my history with regards to bullying. And it had nothing to do with its sexuality. It all had to do with this right here. This thing right here. Because mine was not as light as others. And because I was made to feel bad because of the color of my skin, because of the tone of my skin, because of the spread of my nose, and all those kinds of things. So I was bullied, called all kinds of names, darky, blackie, charcoal, all that kind of stuff. All kinds of negative things to make me feel bad about who I was and the way God had made me naturally, according to biology and genetics. Okay? Not LGBT, which has nothing to do with biology or genetics. Has nothing to do with that. So now, but people like me, African American kids have been bullied for a very long time, especially those who did not have of a lighter hue, that were not of a lighter hue, or whose hair didn't look a certain way. So no one cared then. No one cared about the psychological disasters that were going on in the heads of African American kids who were growing up, going to history classes and never hearing about anything that was happening, anything that their people have contributed to the growth of this country. So really that's psychological bullying there. But no one ever cared about that, because I dealt with a whole bunch of stuff in my head as an African-American kid. And you go to history classes, but you never hear anything positive about what Africans in America did. But you always hear about the accomplishments of other races. And so for me, I grew up with a negative mindset of who I was as an African-American kid, and then also adding to the fact of having dark skin. So, the psychological bullying that I dealt with, and not only that, but the bullying that was verbal from people who would just say mean stuff about me because of the color of my skin, because of the tone of my skin, and saying that so-and-so is prettier because their skin tone is this and that. And so for me, it's like, okay, now, why is it that now, 10 years ago, now it's all important, and now this is at the top of the game? Now we have posters. You go into a school right now, there's posters all over the place talking about bullying. And if you go to some of the websites that talk about, there's one called by the government, the stopbullying.org. Really, the whole stuff, no, stomp out bullying, stomp out bullying. If you look at it, they add sexual orientation, the LGBTQ, in there as though it is in the same category as being African American, as being Asian, as being Hispanic, and those things. And we both know that if a Hispanic man and woman get together, they're going to have Hispanic children. You can't reproduce homosexuality. You have to enroll homosexuality. You have to like the army, you have to enlist people into that lifestyle. And trust me, they do enlist. So, and there are situations, but I'm not going to get into all of that, the reasons how and why. But I will say this, that we all know that it's not been genetic nor is it or biologically based. So now, with that in mind, again, why are we so concerned about bullying now? And no one cared when African-American kids were having to deal with psychological bullying or even the verbal bullying and even physical bullying because of the color of their skin. But yet, all of a sudden, now everybody's concerned about bullying because the LGBTQ kids are involved and having issues. That's something to ask a question about. All right, remember, Jesus Christ is Lord, reaching people for Christ while inspiring others to do the same. Peace.